The following program is made possible by a grant from Pan American Life Insurance Company. It's Varsity Quiz Bowl, and today, Andre Jacques, Wilson McLeod, Nadine Lowe, and Richard Pennock from Isidore Newman School will meet in a battle of quick recall. Ravi Sharma, Carrie Lewis, Charles Barnes, and James Richards from East Jefferson High School. The alternate from Newman is Quinn Hillier, and the coach, Kenneth McKenzie. And the alternate from East Jefferson is Rosemary Fazan, and the coach, Julie LeBourgeois. And now, here's our moderator, Mel Levitt.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Welcome once again to Varsity Quiz Bowl, and now we're getting down to the tough part. Only 8 teams are left, and this is our first quarterfinal match, East Jefferson versus Isidore Newman. Before we begin play, let me introduce our judge, Dr. Ann Akers, who, of course, has been our regular judge throughout the entire series and last year. Our scorer is Terry Utterback, a broadcast department employee here at WYES. Our recognizer is Cliff Beal. He's a student in Loyola, interning at WYES. Let's give him a nice round of applause, huh? All right, the stage is set, and we're about to begin the first quarterfinal match. Here's the face-off teams. We're going for a lagniappe of 30 points. When both houses of the Louisiana legislature returned to work last Monday, the House was starting the second full week of work in an 85-day 1981 regular session, and it was ready to begin the task of spending the operations budget proposed by Governor David C. Treen. The question, to the nearest billion, how much is Louisiana's budget? How much?
East Jefferson, Sharma.
$5 billion.
You got it for 10 points. It is. To be precise, it's $5.2 billion, the proposed budget. You picked up 10 points. You're on the board each, Jeff. And we now have an audio lagniappe. We'd like you to listen to the following selection from a current musical running off-Broadway. Listen to it. I'll ask 3 questions. Okay?
When you hear the preaching has begun, bend down low, but drive away your sin. When you get real and shout, you want to shout up, say, well, we are hot times in a whole time tonight.
All right, he just sang the key, which is A Hot Time in the Old Town Tonight, an old tune. And it happens to be the closing song of a musical that originated right here in New Orleans. This song comes from what musical? Question number 1.
Ain't Misbehaving.
No, that's another very popular musical, I should say. One More Time is the one we're thinking about, rooted here in New Orleans. Now, number 2. We still have 2 questions. This musical, which was also nominated for the Grammy as Best Cast Album, has conceived, or was conceived and directed by whom? Anyone? His name was Vernell Bagneris, and finally, this musical relives the songs of great black blues singers such as Bessie Smith and Ethel Waters. For 10 points, name the theater that stood on the corner of Iberville and Burgundy Streets in the French Quarter where these blues singers entertained many years ago. You think of it? It was the Lyric Theater. All right, let's move along now. We're going for a lagniappe at 20 points, teams. This is a face-off. It's very short for 10 points. Name the nearest star to the Earth excepting the sun.
Newman, Pennock.
Alpha Centauri.
No.
East Jefferson, Sharma.
Beta Centauri.
Oh, boy, you're on both sides. It's Proxima Centauri. All right, here we have another face-off. This year's #1 football draft pick was George Rogers. He signed with the New Orleans Saints. For a quick 10 points, who was last year's #1?
East Jefferson, Richards.
Was Billy? Never mind. We got to turn it over to Isidore Newman. Anybody?
Isidore Newman.
Billy
McLeod.
Sims.
Billy Sims is correct. 10 points. I think we're going to have to deaden that one, huh? I gave half the answer in return. I'm sorry. MC error. Put down a -5 for me. I almost answered it myself, and I don't think it's fair. You'll both agree. Here's another face-off. We're going for a lagniappe at 20. He was a Viennese composer of operettas, of which The Chocolate Soldier and The Waltz Dream are the best known. Although he had the same last name, he was not related to the Viennese Waltz King.
Newman, McLeod.
Strauss.
You have to give a complete name.
Johann Strauss.
No, I'm afraid that's incorrect. We'll repeat.
East Jefferson, Barnes.
Richard Strauss.
This is like Centauri. It's Oscar Strauss. A lot of Strausses, a lot of Centauris, okay? Another face-off, going for a lanyap at 20. These animals have been a fixture of the American Western landscape since the great gold rush era of the 1880s, when they were used as pack animals by prospectors.
East Jefferson,
They're
Richards.
remarkably.
Burro.
Burro is correct for 10 points. Very distinctive breed. You have 10 more points. Here's a lanyap at 20, East Jefferson. Both houses of the Louisiana State Legislature returned to work last Monday, with the Senate facing a major decision on the matter of one of its members' right to remain a member of that group. For 10 points, name the senator whose future is now in jeopardy. And for another 10 points, tell me why the Senate's considering adopting a set of rules paving the way for his expulsion. This has been reported on in the newspapers throughout the state and locally extensively. Anyone? Senator's name is Gaston Gerald. He's in federal prison, that's the reason, serving a 5-year sentence for attempted extortion. All right, we'll move on to another face-off. We're going for a lanyap at 30. A famous American author and editor of the Emporia, Kansas Gazette for nearly 50 years. This man, known as the Sage of Emporia, wrote an article entitled, "What's the Matter with Kansas?" that was used in the campaign to elect William McKinley President of the United States. For 10 points, can you name this very famous small-town editor? Be specific. Be specific as to name, full name. His name was William Allen White. All right, another face-off for 10 points. What profession did N.C. Wyeth, Maxfield Parrish, and Howard Pyle have?
Newman Jacques.
Painters. Artists.
No, I'm afraid that's not specific enough. Judge, what is your...
Yeah, I said Wyeth certainly was a painter, but all of them together, the common...
We're talking about the whole grouping, and it has to be a very specific...
Specifically what...
Because... No, I'm afraid we can't accept that. East Jefferson, right, Judge? For 10 points, what profession did N.C. Wyeth, Maxfield Parrish, and Howard Pyle have in common? Their specific profession. Not as artists or painters or anything like that.
East Jefferson, Lewis.
Cartoonist.
No, they were all illustrators of children's books. This is a specific category, all three. Another face-off. We're going for a lanyap at 30. In the sport of harness racing, horses are classified in two groups. One of them, trotters. For 10 points, name the other.
Newman
Trotters and
McLeod.
what?
Pacers.
You've got it for 10 points. On the board, Newman. All right, that's the icebreaker. Now, Newman, you can collaborate on this 30-pointer. In terms of pi and the radius or diameter of a circle, you all know that the area of a circle is equal to pi r squared, or 1/4 times pi times d squared. For 10 points each, tell me the correct formula in terms of pi and diameter or radius and height for finding the following areas or volumes. All right, now we get down to the simple part. I'm kidding. Number one, the volume of a sphere. Can you give me the formula?
4/3 pi r cubed. 4/3 pi r cubed.
That's correct. For 10 more, the surface of a sphere. Surface.
3/4.
We'll ask for an answer. It would be 4 pi r squared or pi d squared. Finally, for 10 points, the volume of a cylinder. Volume of a cylinder.
Pi r squared h. I'll delegate this.
All right, Mr. Bennett.
Pi r squared h.
Correct. And you've got 20 points out of the question. 2 of 3, Isidore Newman. Another face-off going for a lanyap at 30. For a quick 10 points, what instrument does the concertmaster of a symphony orchestra play?
Newman and Jacques.
First violin.
That's correct. First violin is absolutely correct. You got 10 points. A lanyap at 30 points coming up in 3 parts. Tell me, in what museum would you find the following paintings? Number 1, Guernica by Picasso.
Yeah.
Where is it now?
Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York.
Oh, no. It's down several blocks. The Modern Art Museum, Museum of Modern Art.
MoMA.
All right, Mona Lisa by Da Vinci.
Louvre.
In the Louvre.
That's correct for 10. And finally, The Girl with the Watering Can by Renoir. What museum?
National Gallery in London.
You're correct. Of what?
London.
London. I'm sorry. The reason I jumped on it, it's the National Gallery of Washington. Sorry, but you picked up 1, and that's 10 more points for Isidore Newman. All right, these are tough and testing questions, so sometimes if we're hesitant, it's because we're not quite sure how exact the answer is or should be. Right, the buzzer means rapid fire. In rapid fire, very briefly, I ask the questions as quickly as they're answered. If you answer correctly, it's 10 points. If you answer incorrectly, it's a -5. Remember, there's no referrals here. Now, there's only 1 answer per question, and that's it. Either win or lose. We continue for 2 minutes till the next buzzer and rapid fire, and the first half ends. Today's rapid fire has as its theme musicals on and off Broadway, and also the plays or stories on which they're based. It could be either. So if you're ready, here we go. Rapid fire. Number 1, based on Thornton Wilder's The Matchmaker.
Newman Jacques.
Hello, Dolly.
Judge, you want to...
We'll take it.
We'll take it in abeyance right now. That's not the precise title. Number 2 concerns the growth of Nazi Germany in the 1930s.
Newman McLeod.
Watch on the Rhine.
No, it's Cabaret. Allegedly a parody of the Washington hostess turned diplomat Pearl Mesta. Call Me Madam was the name. Based on Shaw's play Pygmalion.
Newman McLeod.
My Fair Lady.
That's correct. The title song is closely tied to the John F. Kennedy presidency.
Newman McLeod.
Camelot.
That's right. The longest-running Broadway musical of all time.
East Jefferson Lewis.
Grease.
Correct. Involves the life stories, confessions, and hopes of a group of performers trying out for a new musical.
Newman Jacques.
Chorus line.
That's right. Based on 2 short stories by James Michener.
Newman Jacques.
South Pacific.
Correct. The musical that made Barbra Streisand a star was what?
Newman Lowe.
Funny Girl.
Right. A musical in which the background concerns the persecution of Jews in Russia was what?
Newman McLeod.
Fiddler on the Roof.
That's right. Ease on Down the Road was a popular song from
East
what?
Jefferson Richards.
Correct. This long-running hit is about a little girl who escapes from an orphanage.
East Jefferson Lewis.
Annie.
Correct. Based on a play, Green Grow the Lilacs.
East Jefferson Lewis.
Oklahoma.
It was. The hero sells his soul to the devil to become a star baseball player.
East Jefferson Lewis.
Faust.
No, this is Damn Yankees. Similar story.
forgot that.
With a story based on Romeo and Juliet. This musical is also about gang warfare.
Newman McLeod.
This is West Side Story. About an eccentric woman who brings up her orphan nephew.
Newman Jacques.
Mame.
That's right, and they travel a lot. The central character is the mother of a famous stripper.
Newman Jacques.
Gypsy.
Correct. Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend is probably the most famous song from this musical. It's based on a novel by Anita Loos.
Newman Lowe.
Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
That's right. Based on Cervantes' Don Quixote.
Newman McLeod.
Man of La Mancha.
Correct. A widowed Welsh woman goes to serve an Oriental potentate.
Newman Lowe.
The King and I.
Correct. Choreographer. Okay, there's the buzzer, and that winds up our first half. Okay. We're going to take a pause here momentarily, and then we'll be back in just a moment. And we'll talk to these very interesting young people who've been so successful participating in Quiz Bowl about what it's meant to them. Stay tuned.
Radiation. Energy traveling through space. Waves of light, of sound, mysterious waves called alpha, beta, gamma, X-rays. Hi, I'm Peter Graves. Low-level radiation is routinely utilized in medical diagnosis and treatment. For a look at the benefits and the dangers of this type of radiation, join me next time on Here's to Your Health.
See it Sunday evening at 6 here on Channel 12.
We'll continue play in just a moment. This week, in the quarterfinal rounds, as a matter of fact, for all the games, we're asking the students how they feel about Quiz Bowl, what it's done in their lives and what it's meant to them, or just what the reactions are in general. And I'm particularly interested here because Andre and Wilson have both been 2 years involved in this. Nadine was as a sophomore. Richard, I don't know whether you were before this year, but you've certainly been involved up to your ears now. So, Andre, why don't you kick it off? What's your reaction?
Well, it helped me get over camera shyness. And,
Don't
helped me,
laugh, it's tough.
you know, gain composure when I'm pressured.
Yeah. Well, you know, it does have that effect, doesn't it? You begin to get used to speaking on your feet or to an audience. How about you, Wilson?
I guess it's just meant a chance to participate on the only academic gridiron in town.
I'm going to hire you. That's great. Where'd you get that line? Nadine.
Well, it's given me a chance to meet some really interesting people, including my rather unique teammates.
You're just going to leave it there, and I think
Yeah.
you should. Let them think about it. Richard, how about you?
Well, it's given me a chance to remember all the things that I've learned and to learn all the things that I didn't learn. And, it's given me a chance to learn how to act in front of millions and millions of people on the TV audience and stuff. So,
Millions of adoring fans.
Boy, our rating just doubled there in the middle of his sentence. I love it. I love it. I think that's great. No, seriously, you can't write copy like that. That's very interesting. East Jefferson, how about you? You know what the question is, and I'm interested in your reactions because East Jeff has had a great deal of success in this program and once vied for the championship in a final round. How about you, Robbie?
Well, give me, a chance to meet all these other people. Probably met them before, too, but see how they work. See how they work with questions like that. How much they know.
Yeah, well, I think that brings up a point. There's a lot of teamwork here that you may or may not know about, especially on the lanyards. Carrie, you're the captain.
Well, I've learned a lot. I've learned how to be a captain. I don't know. It's fun. I like it.
Yeah. A captain doesn't tell, he does.
Yeah.
How about you, Charles?
Learned a lot of trivia and learned how to think under pressure.
That's a heck of a combination, isn't it? A lot of trivia and think under pressure. A lot more than just trivia, though, I might add. James, how about you?
It's let me be on TV where I wouldn't ordinarily.
Yeah, I understand you become kind of a local folk hero at East Jefferson.
I guess so.
Yeah. But look, we're all human, right? And I think the recognition like that means a whole lot. Before we continue, who's played on this game before now? Raise your hands. Who's been on anybody? This is your first year, right? Okay. You don't act like it. I thought you'd been on a couple of years. Let's go now with the second half. And as we begin play, let's see what's facing me here. Looks like a face-off that's visual. And we're leading up to a lanyap at 20 points. So direct your attention, if you will, to the monitors in our studio. We have another one of those inimitable international driving signs. Now, you've learned, I think, by now, if you've studied these signs, to be very careful about your answer and don't jump to conclusions. You direct your attention to the monitor, you see here a sign that is used internationally. The question is specifically, what does this sign mean?
East Jefferson, Sharma.
Stop and yield?
No, I'm afraid not. Newman, can you take it? Anyone? I'll take a shot.
Newman, McLeod.
Come to a full and complete stop when you see the sign.
But I told him to be specific. He went right off the road. No, we're picking hairs here, but internationally this means stop ahead. So it's a little different than just stop, you know, when you go through the windshield saying, oh, God, why didn't I have a stop ahead sign? Another face-off coming up. Lanyap at 20 points in abeyance. A man who helped libraries and a man who helped people.
Carnegie.
By golly, that's right. I didn't finish the sentence, did I now? Miss Lowe? Yes, Andrew and Dale by name. Here's a lanyap at 20 points. As the United States slowly goes metric, we're having to mentally calculate many quantities from metric measure back into our familiar English measures. For example, many gasoline stations now give the price of gasoline in terms of liters rather than gallons. Sometimes I think that's because it sounds like less. But for 5 points each, supply the correct equivalents of the following. 1, to the nearest tenth, the number of liters in a gallon. Number of liters in a gallon.
3.3?
No, it's 3.8, actually. 3.8. It's probably going to embarrass a lot of adults watching at home who've seen the signs but haven't done the computation. To the nearest tenth, the number of pounds in a kilogram is what?
2.2.
That's correct for 5. For 5 more, to the nearest tenth, the number of kilometers in a mile. Excuse me. In an Olympic year would become...
1.3.
I'm sorry.
1.3.
No, it's a little higher, 1.6. And finally, to the nearest inch, the number of inches in a meter.
39.37.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's not even to the nearest inch. That's to the nearest. You have picked up 2, and I believe that's 10. Is that 2 or 3? 2. 10 points. Isidore Newman. All right, here's a face-off. We're going for a lanyap at 20. In September of 1815, after the fall of Napoleon, an agreement was signed in Paris by the heads of state of Austria, Prussia, and Russia. For 10 points, what was this agreement known as? What did they call it?
Newman, McLeod.
Treaty of the Three Emperors?
No. East Jefferson. Anyone?
East Jefferson, Lewis.
Holy Alliance?
That's right, it was the Holy Alliance for 10 points on the board again. Okay, East Jeff. I'll give you 5 points for identifying each of these great American poets. Number 1, he wrote, "Here once the embattled farmers stood and fired the shot heard round the world." He titled it The Conquered Hymn. What was his name? Remember him? Ralph Waldo Emerson. A little difficult because he's better known for his essays, I think. Which American poet is probably most well remembered for his major work entitled Leaves of Grass?
Walt Whitman.
Correct. For 5 more, a major poet of this century. He compiled such books of verse as Chicago Poems, Smoke and Steel, was also known as a noted Lincoln historian.
Carl Sandburg.
Correct. And finally, the author of the well-known Village Blacksmith. Underneath the, spreading chestnut tree, the village...
Frost?
No, this was Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. You got 2 of the 4, and that's 10 more points for East Jefferson. We have another face-off. We're going for a lanyap at 30 now. Although he's remembered for his comedy, She Stoops to Conquer, and his poem,
Newman,
Deserted.
McLeod.
Oliver Goldsmith.
You got it. Wrote only 1 novel, The Vicar of Wakefield. Here's a lanyap of 30. We all know that each state in the Union is represented in the Senate by 2 senators. For 5 points each, name the six states of our 50 whose senators outnumber the representatives in Congress. These are the smallest representatives, the smallest representation in Congress. That is, in the House. There are 6 in all. You get 5 points for each one you can correctly identify.
North Dakota, Alaska, Vermont, Wyoming, Nevada, and Montana.
My gosh, you got all 5 of the 6. The last, however, was not Montana, was Delaware. That's 25 points for Isidore Newman. We have another face-off teams. We're going for a lanyap of 30 now. There's a house under construction in uptown New Orleans. It's the first of its type in New Orleans. It's based on an idea developed in the late 1920s by R. Buckminster Fuller.
Newman McLeod.
Geodesic dome.
That's right, a geodesic dome house. Picked up 10. All right, you have a lanyap of 30 now. For 10 apiece, tell me what the Joads, J-O-A-D-S, Joads did for a living, the title of the well-known novel in which they appeared, and the author of that novel.
It's Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck.
Correct. What were the Joads?
He was a preacher. Mr. Joad was a preacher.
We're talking about the Joads as a group.
Farmers.
They're farmers.
Migrant workers.
Migrant workers.
Yeah, you're closing in on it. If we give you enough time, you'll have a complete description of the first 70 pages. But at any rate, no, I didn't. I say that in tribute. 30 points for you, Newman. They were workers, migrant workers, farm workers, all acceptable, and so on. Here's a face-off. We're going for a lanyap at 20 points. He directed Night of the Living Dead, Martin and the Dawn of the Dead. Just recently directed Night Riders. He's an independent Pittsburgh-based director, developing quite a following. For 10 points, can you name him? This is one that may elude all adults and many of the other folks at home. George Romero is his name. And he's going to become very famous because he makes money every time out. He's the voice of Bugs Bunny, Sylvester, Tweety
East
Pie.
Jefferson Richards.
Mel Blanc.
And that's his name for 10 points. Lanyap for 20. East Jefferson, their new album, East Jefferson, tentatively titled Fire on the Bayou, recorded for A&M Records, has been completed. International release date is June 24th. That's for the latest product from Valent Street's most famous sons. For 10 points, name the group. And then for another 10, name the group that once released an album with the same name, Fire on the Bayou. We're talking about people who've achieved almost folk status in this city, as well as the particular album. Okay, we'll ask for an answer, please. Don't recognize it. The Neville Brothers, the group that's just recorded, the Meters recorded the first album entitled Fire on the Bayou. We have another face-off. Mark Twain's celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County is generally considered his first important short story. For 10 points, in what state is Calaveras County located?
East Jefferson Lewis.
Missouri.
No, it's a logical assumption because it's Twain's home state. However,
Newman McLeod.
Arkansas.
no, actually it's in California. One of the reasons we asked, because many people don't realize that. All right, another face-off. This 18th century Scottish economist argued that if natural laws are obeyed...
Newman McLeod.
Malthus.
No, afraid that's incorrect. East Jefferson will repeat now. Must ring for recognition, no consultation. This 18th century Scottish economist argued that if natural laws are obeyed, economic growth will result. He felt that government regulations and controls violate immutable natural economic laws and stifle growth. And he believed that giving free rein to people's desire to satisfy themselves will in fact benefit everyone. For 10 points, who was he? Very famous economist.
East Jefferson Lewis.
Rousseau.
No, this was Adam Smith, the original laissez-faire man. Wealth of Nations, another face-off. For a quick 10 points, name the Japanese admiral who masterminded the attack on Pearl Harbor.
East Jefferson Barnes.
Yamamoto.
Correct, it was. Isoroku Yamamoto. Lanyap at 25. The Indiana Hoosiers reign as the NCAA basketball tournament champions for 81. However, you can earn 5 points each for each of the champions of the last 5 years, 1976 through 1980, that you can correctly identify. 5 times 5 will be 25. Incidentally, no team has won twice. Judge, would you require that they mention specific years in this? Or just mention...
Okay, Louisville.
I think we'll give you the... You don't need the year. Just give us the teams. That's a feat enough, you know.
Okay, Louisville, Kentucky, Indiana State, and Michigan State.
All right, and you got one more if you want to take it very quickly. Take a shot. 3-pointer, maybe, huh? No, I'm afraid not. Okay, Louisville is correct. Michigan State is correct. Kentucky is correct. Marquette and Indiana University were the other two. So that's 15 points. Yes, there is. That's Larry Bird's school. All right, we have another face-off. We're going for a lanyard at 20. Plants are sometimes referred to as, and I'll spell it, A-C-A-R-P-O-U-S, a carpus. For 10 points, what does it mean? What's it mean? What's an acarpus plant?
Without blood?
Without what?
Without blood?
No. How about East Jefferson, anyone? Actually, they're plants that bear no fruit. They're sterile. Another face-off for 10 points. Tell me the name of the 19th century Italian patriot whose writings formed the basis of the Young Italy group, a movement devoted to the fight for Italian unification and a republican form of government. Who was he?
East Jefferson, Sharma.
Machiavelli?
No, afraid that's incorrect. Newman, can you take it?
Newman, McLeod.
Garibaldi?
No, Garibaldi actually was identified with this particular movement, but it was Mazzini who did what we said, Giuseppe Mazzini. Another face-off. In 1869, the first transcontinental... Afraid we won't get that one out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our game, the first quarter final. We'll be back in just a moment after we validate the final score to declare a winner. The team is going to be one of the 4 final survivors. Stay tuned.
Public TV explores on Sunday when the Cousteau Odyssey journeys to Easter Island. What happened to the early inhabitants of this former paradise? Join Jacques Cousteau and the crew of the Calypso as they search for the answer. Then on Masterpiece Theater, the conclusion of Thérèse Racan, Émile Zola's story of adulterous love and passion, a passion that leads to murder and a nightmare of revenge.
See it Sunday evening at 8 on Channel 12.
And here you see the final score, ladies and gentlemen. Isidore Newman, 235. East Jefferson, 105. Newman's the winner, and they advance to the semifinals. Congratulations, Newman. Very good. Powerhouse team. And you beat another powerhouse team, East Jefferson. Let me see now, show of hands. Who's coming back next year? You all graduating, huh? Every one of you? Okay, raise your hands in semi-victory. You got this far, and not many teams did. Okay, let's hear it for East Jefferson. Remember, I told you before the game, that one consolation, win or lose, only 8 teams got this far, period, out of 62. All individual team members and coaches on today's program receive a special memento honoring their appearance on Varsity Quiz Bowl from Pan American Life Insurance Company, and we're proud to have them help us in the sponsorship of this show. In our elimination tournament game plan, as you know, Newman, you'll be back in 2 weeks to play the winner of the De La Salle Bonneville game. And that game you'll see here if you tune in tomorrow, same time at 5 o'clock. We hope to see you then. Goodbye, everyone.
The questions on Varsity Quiz Bowl are prepared and authenticated by the WIS editorial research staff and known only in advance to the quizmaster, producer, judge, and researcher. All 64 schools participating in our year-long tournament are matched by blind draw. Selections of team members and methods of preparation are the sole responsibility of the schools and their coaches. The preceding program was made possible in part by a grant from Pan American Life Insurance Company.